everyone. Welcome to The Left Turn. My name is Ajoke Yusuf, your host. Thanks for the likes, shares, and comments, and also subscribing to the channel. Left Turn is where we dive into captivating stories of African trailblazers who have mastered life unexpected twists from childhood dreams to remarkable achievements. Today on the show, we have a remarkable individual. He is at the forefront of technological transformation in Africa, serving as the country manager for Uber Nigeria. In the pivot role, he is dedicated to steering Uber's growth and expansive reach throughout Nigeria. Tope joined Uber in February 2021, bringing him a wealth of experience and a visionary of progress. Before his current role, he served as the head of marketing and analytics at Kobo 360, a role that understood his depth understanding of logistic and transportation landscape. He was the assistant manager of disruptive innovation and emerging technology at PwC Nigeria, where he harnessed his analytics skills and innovation mindsets. Since joining Uber, Tope has been instrumental in launching several new products, offering across various Nigerian cities, such as Uber Package, UberX Share, and Uber Go. His commitment to innovation has expanded the range of services available and played a vital role in Uber's penetration into multiple new cities under his leadership. Tope's passion lies in the positive technology disruptive taking place across Africa. He's deeply enthusiastic about contributing to regional growth and evaluation, helping shape mobility and transportation's future. Join me to welcome Mr. Tope Akinwumi. So happy to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Ajoke. I'm super excited to be here.
We're happy to have you as well.
Thank you.
The last time I saw Tope, we were having a conversation and you mentioned that you have always had a dream of becoming a pilot. And that brings me to my first question.
Yes.
What was childhood like for you? Why pilots? What brought about it? Was it influence? Generally, I just want you to tell us about what your childhood was like.
Okay. So I'll start by talking about the dream of being a pilot. And how grateful I am today that I'm not one, right? So I think as a child, it was important that I do something exciting.
Okay.
So you then see planes flying, you go into trains, you see pilots, traveling to different places. And generally, that's what I thought I wanted to do with my life, right? But then I think I lost interest when I got into secondary school, right? And then started pursuing other interests, mechanical engineering, aeronautic engineering. I just started thinking about what to do in that space. My childhood was fun. I have two professor parents. So it was always about reading. I came from a family of about 4 boys, 1 girl. And we were pushed to be the best that we could. I think early on in my life, I knew that I loved maths. It was the only subject I could pass without reading, right? Always is, because maths is simple. It's just there.
Simple?
Once you understand it. Yes. Maths is that once you understand it, it just comes,
I agree.
So it was easy for me to say I wanted to go into uni to study mechanical engineering, right?
Okay.
Got done. Before I get to the point where I graduated, it was my 400 level where I knew that my life would take a turn, right? And I was going to move away from engineering. Looked at everyone that I was looking up to that graduated ahead of me and what they were doing. And I just didn't like it. Some of them, their jobs were good at that time. I just didn't see the path to where I wanted to be in the future, right? Supervisors, like Julius Berger, some of them were working offshore. I just didn't want that, right? I've always seen myself as the leader of a big company in Nigeria. So I think then it was easy to do searches of people. And that's what I did. Look at the CEO of MTN, look at the CEO of several other organizations, and then found out that most of them were either had the finance background or HR. Right. Those are people leading organizations, not engineers. So how do I pivot? So my 400 level, I didn't go to school much. My result was already sealed. I went to get a job as a salesperson.
Wow.
So I spent my time in the public library reading about finance, reading about other things. I read about psychology, picked up a few terms. and then did a lot of sales work. So yeah, after school, did service. I knew that I just wanted to come to Lagos. I grew up in Akure where there were no opportunities. If I left it to my parents, I'll be a lecturer today with multiple PhDs. I would assume. So when they took my bag and I said I was coming to Lagos, I did several interviews and I was lucky to get a job as a strategy person in Workforce Group.
Okay.
And I'm thankful for that beginning because the CEO, Bola Jolaguju, invested a lot in a few of us that taught us a few things. I would say that you can't know the future. You can only connect the dots by looking back. And now that I'm looking back, I'm thankful for that. Right? So it was the beginning of something new. From there, I moved into PwC, spent 4 years there, just working as hard as I could, right? Just to get things over the line, and then moved. Something about me is I'm not comfortable. And that's why I said, I'm not comfortable with doing one thing over and over again.
Yeah.
That's why I said I'm thankful that I didn't become a pilot. I would have been in music. Right?
I see. I get.
So in PwC started with audit. The challenge for me is getting to know something, and I have to know it well, right? So coming from engineering background, someone telling you that debiting your bank account means that you're adding money to it. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
But that's what accounting is. So I struggled with the concept of accounting, and I spent 3 years. I think my first job was miserable, right? I'll leave the audit organization, walk into the world of saver bed and thinking, what am I doing in my life, right? And then second year, I started winning awards, right? I won an award every year till I left PwC. Right?
Awesome.
So 3 years straight. It was the fourth year I knew that, you know what, I mastered this thing. I need to leave, right? But even while in PwC, I didn't do one thing. I didn't do just audit. I would look for opportunities to go to technology and go and do something with them. I did a gig with tax. And then I ended up in the strategy unit before I left. My fourth year said, you know what? I'm done with finance. I think I want to learn operations.
Wow.
So I spoke to a few people. An opportunity came to go to Kubo 360. So if you look at my LinkedIn, it's always on the dot. I will leave on the fourth year. I left exactly 4 years.
4 years.
I was in PwC. If you look at my LinkedIn, you see that I was very deliberate in how I joined organizations and now I leave it.
Excellent.
Right. So left PwC exactly 4 years after I joined Kobo as an ops person. I was an ops manager when I was there, and then rose through the brand. I left as the head of marketplace and analytics, and I left exactly a year after I joined.
She's now up to 4 years.
What did you say?
It was up to 4 years.
It was up to 4 years. Got another job as a CFO of the company, and then I spent. That one was one that wasn't planned. I pride myself on having strong ethics. So if I join an organization and it's just not working, I'll leave. I was about to leave Nigeria when I just saw a role, right? The country manager role. And like I said, you can only connect the dots looking back.
Yeah.
The role said they needed a strong finance person,
you do
a
have
strong
that.
operations person, and a strong strategy person. And with 5 years experience, and I ticked all the boxes. So I applied for the one, then I got it. Since I've joined Uber, it's been perfect. It's the right environment to try new things. I've launched 8 new products since I joined Uber Nigeria.
Wow.
We've launched 10 new cities. So it's a great environment for someone like me to experiment. I always see myself, like I said, doing something new. But I think that's my story. I would say, like I said, I can only join the dots looking backwards. I would say that something else about myself is, like I told you earlier, I do not say no to anything. Because you don't know when you need a new skill, right?
Okay.
Everything you learn would always come up at one point in time. You would always need it. It might sound obsolete to you at that time, but you always need it in the future.
I agree with you completely. This is an amazing story. I know I used to say that when we hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's not in my JD," I always just feel like you're shortchanging yourself.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be in your JD. You learn because you might not know when you need those skills. So that's a very powerful one. I'm going to take you back a bit to your stories when you talked about having two professors as your parents, right? Was it difficult? Because I know how it is, how families will want to say, okay, please, you have to be, like you said, your daddy wanted to be. Did he at any point wanted you to do lecturing? And was it like a problem, or did you face any, no, you have to do this, or any point? Did you also have guidance in terms of, okay, this is what you wanted to do or leave? Because I feel like it's just a natural thing where, okay, you should just know this is what you want to be like your daddy and not pilot. First of all, pilot came up. And so I'd like to know, was it a struggle with your parents when you decided that you don't want to go into lecturing? And is there anyone in your family that actually went into lecturing?
Yes. So I'd say I always have a mind of my own. I'm very strong with it. And I think you need that if you're going to be successful in life, right? I think it also helps them second born.
Okay. Second kids.
Very stubborn.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, my parents wanted me strongly to become a lecturer, right? Early on, like they gave us the liberty to choose what we wanted to do, what your passion is. I think they would have a competition with you. So my older brother did a lot of computing, so he majored on that. I was an engineer. We have a lawyer in the family. We have a medical doctor, and we have a biochemist, right? So you do all of that. But then when it comes to getting a job, they want you to go to school, learn about biochemistry, learn about engineering, but come teach others, which I didn't want to do, right? So that's where knowing what you want to do for yourself or what makes you happy comes into play, right? I would never do something that I don't love, right? I would say work is good, and I tell people that I don't have, you know how people talk about work-life balance? I don't have it because I can't separate my work from my life, right? I love my work so much, and I love my own life that it's so mixed together, right? So if you call me today and say, let's go lunch somewhere, I love it. You don't need to give me an extra push there. If I was doing something else, I would have been miserable. So I think an advice to like anyone watching here is, I think the first step to happiness or genuine happiness is trying what you love, right? Or doing something that you think you love, right? We're talking about being a pilot earlier. One of the goals, like one of the reasons I wanted to be that was number one, the experiences.
Okay.
But another one would probably be, I would say to be able to see like a full view of what the earth looks like. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I own a drone today, right? So I just like walk around, travel to different places and flights. That's not being a pilot. Maybe one day I'll be one. As a hobby, but for today, like I'm doing what I love, right? On my own terms and making it,
That's amazing. That's great. You mentioned every year, like in your career, you had these 4 years you spent in each company. My question is, was it planned? Or was it, it just happened? Right? Was it a planned action? Because I feel like from the story you've shared with us, there was this, like this person that know what you wanted to do. Could it be that, what do you think influenced that? Could it be that, because for me, as a child, you sometimes don't know what you really want to do. Some of us wanted to be doctors when we were growing up and stuff. But it felt like, from your story, it felt like everything was planned, including when you took up the job role, including the fact that you have 4 years at each company. Was it like it's a planned thing? What actually influenced that decision?
Okay. So I think just to correct something, not 4 years in each company, it's just like indefinite time. So 4 years in PwC, 1 year in Kobo.
Okay.
But definitely wasn't planned. Like I wouldn't come here and say, hey, I knew what I wanted to be. I didn't know, but I knew what was driving me at each point in time, right? So I told you there was a turn when I was in 400 level when I knew that this isn't what I wanted to do again. And once I know I am not doing this again, I stop investing time in it. I see. Right? And then I invest time in the next thing. The next thing for me at that point was finance, because I thought, like I knew it was going to get me to the top of any company I wanted to be. But then what informs me in a company would be mastery. Like if I feel like I have known everything that there is to know in that field out, right? So there's something that I take around with myself. I call it I'm sure you already know this, is the learning curve.
Okay.
With everything new that I do, there is always that steep learning curve, right? You spend a lot of time just to acquire the knowledge, but then at some point you get to like the point of mastery when you do it mindlessly, right? So and then I get very good at it that I will procrastinate a lot, waste time, and then just in a few minutes, like just get things done, right? When I get to that point, I know it's time to leave. I know it's time to learn something else. And that's why for accounting is very difficult. Spent 4 years doing it. I went into data analytics in COBOL. I'll give you like a few stories. When I was in my last year in PwC, I started investing time in data analytics, right? So I work from 9 till 5, and then from 5 to say around 10, I'll just be learning how to use R and the SQL, right? A lot of those were very important when I got into my new role. When I was joining Kobo, I didn't know I was going to be in data analytics. I joined as an ops person. I was jumping Okada everywhere in Lagos, right? From our office there was in Jimo, jump it into Japa, right? But I don't be in even PwC jumping Okada is just crazy. But then I discovered that there was a problem the company had. They were running a lot of like record keeping or decision making with data, right? So everything was done based on what someone felt or what was right. So I started to change that culture. Bring in a few people on Saturday just to create a database. Bring in a few people to create a report that management will use on Monday. Right? So it was only like, I think it just only made sense that I would lead that team. And that's what happened, right? Formed and then started like improving the culture of the organization, helping people make better decisions via data, helping with profitability of certain deals, which wasn't the case previously. Like you just go into a deal and at the end you see that we're not making money here. So how about we know upfront before we go into it? But to answer your question, it wasn't planned. But when I've gotten to the point where I feel like I have mastered this, I'll leave, right? So left Kobo and decided to embrace finance in its entirety by joining another startup. So I was hired as a CFO of that startup. Pay was good, everything was fantastic. But this was the only one that wasn't planned. I didn't reach mastery at that. I had to run for my life. Like the culture there was terrible. I won't call the name of the company.
Yeah, it's fine.
But the culture was terrible. Like it didn't align with my values. I spent 1 month and 2 weeks there, right? So I left, and then, like I said, Uber came calling, and this 3 years now, I'm still here.
That's great. Yeah. So Uber came calling, and you changed your mind from. That's amazing. So I hear you. Like you said, always know yourself. Also put in as much work as possible. When you get to the point where you are at that mastering or comfort zone, like I would like to call it, just leave and do the next thing. Thank you very much. That's really great. So I would like to ask, you have chosen the tech space, and how exactly did you get into the current role? I know you've already given a brief of the fact that you had to leave, right? Leave the current conversation, but why did you choose tech space?
So for me, it's solving important problems. I think all my life I've tried to do that, right? And Uber is just a perfect place where you see the application of some of your decisions in real life, right? You see like how people are struggling to move around in Nigeria, and any decision you make affects both drivers and riders, right? How much somebody takes home and how much somebody would have to part with to move from one point to the other. How did I get the role? I wouldn't say that there was one deliberate grand plan to be this. I knew that I wanted to lead organizations. This is my first, but this definitely won't be my last.
Absolutely.
That's my overarching goal. And this is the first step to doing that. I've prepared all my life to do that. And one of the qualities of somebody to lead an organization is someone that has like strong finance background, strong ops background, and is very good with data, right? Prepared myself for that. And when the opportunity came calling, I grabbed it. What's kept me in the role is, like I said, some of the, like number one, like how many smart people you find in the organization. Like, I'm challenged by super smart people every day. Sometimes I feel like I'm the dumbest in the room, right? Which is a great place to be, because you always just expand, right? You expand your knowledge, expand how you see things, and your capacity. And yes, like I said, solving important problems. So for now, I am still here.
Super interesting.
Yes.
Super interesting. And 3 years, your first leadership role, you've done amazing. Like, Uber has a lot of packages, a lot of amazing, the Uber package, Uber Go. And the fact that you're thinking around how people are day-to-day living, how to solve a problem. And it's been amazing so far. Thank you so much. All right. My next question is, every organization faces an obstacle. What was the major challenge you encountered in your career so far? It doesn't have to be here, maybe from beginning and all that. What is that? Because yes, a change definitely is not so sweet, right?
Yeah.
So would you want to share one of the experience or one of the major experience you encountered during your career?
I'll share a couple. I think
that's fine.
I'll think out to that. I think the first will be a personal one, and then next would be a professional one. You know what? Let me give you the professional one first. Joining Uber was great, but it hasn't been like an easy journey.
Yeah.
Joining Uber when we were in 3 cities, we're just coming out of COVID, and we had just one product, which is UberX, right? So if you look at the whole of sub-Saharan Africa at that time, Nigeria was falling behind, right? Nigeria was the only city where we had one product. If you know Uber well, you know that we'd like to tailor our products to the cities that we operate in. And having just one product for everybody in that city just doesn't sit well.
Yeah.
So my first goal, which was a rather difficult one at that time, was to create a strategy for Nigeria. Right? Strategy
tailored to Nigeria.
Yes. Right? A strategy for growth that's peculiar to Nigeria. And that's where Uber Go came from. You know what? My second week in Uber, I had 1 week to create a strategy for Nigeria and present it to the team. So I was sleeping 2 hours just trying to create that. And that's how we bettered Uber Go, right? We did a survey that pointed to the fact that a lot of people couldn't operate UberX at the price point that we were operating then, and use it as daily commutes. So we went into partnership with Move to bring in those vehicles from India, and they're still expanding rapidly. We hope to be in the whole of Lagos by the end of next year. I think we're only available in certain geos for now. So for me, it is creating that strategy for Nigeria. That's been the most difficult one, professionally, creating that strategy. We've launched package, and we launched it when nobody thought it was going to work, right? We didn't have any bikes. We had the likes of Okada already more advanced in that state. But today, Uber package is probably the most efficient and reliable in Lagos, right? For package deliveries. And we'll keep doing that until everybody uses Uber in Lagos. Personally, it's more around, like I said, I like doing different things. And each phase of the different things I've done meant that you have to rapidly consume knowledge, right? So I'm coming into a space I'm coming from engineering into finance. And then I have my mates that were already chartered, right? And they're throwing us into the pool at the same time. What that meant was, if I didn't want to be at a disadvantage, I had to consume knowledge at an alarming rate. So for my first job, I had to buy a textbook. I was stay behind when everybody was going on. There was traffic anyway. So stay behind and read accounting textbook. I became chartered before most of my mates. So I have my NCCA certification just so that I get better at that. Then moved from that to operations. Coming into a world, if you've been in trucking space, you know it's dog eat dog or whatever. It's insane, right? So you have a walking area of rates and distances, right? So there are people that will tell you where the next truck is, how much they will take, and they build that relationship. So coming into that space with language barrier, because you had to learn how to also speak outside for them to be successful in trucking space. I didn't conquer the language barrier by the way. So
You conquered it then.
I'm not sure I did. Anyway, doing that, like dedicating time and then moving from that into data and then from that into like managing like a big company, all of that would mean that you have to learn, right? If you're not willing to learn, then like you will just be falling behind. I think all my life or all my career, that's what I've done. Consume knowledge, read books and talk to people.
Okay, your personal life. You said it's two. You talk about the personal one first.
So the personal one is this professional one system. So what is correct?
Okay.
So hold on. That's how you don't understand seriously the personal one.
Okay. All right. Also, you mentioned that two. One is career, personal, and it's personal. So you've talked about the.
I've talked about both, right? So
okay.
Career is about Uber and some of challenges there. Personal is how I've been able to morph and go into those roles like personally and deal with the knowledge gap I faced at each stage.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So if I hear you, the takeaway is, if you want to actually succeed in each space, always learn, try to learn new things and all that. That's great. Thank you so much. So what do you think is the next step after this particular role? Do you see any left turn coming soon or are we, because I think that pilots and what the space you're in is almost similar, but do you see any left turn?
So I think concerning being a pilot, I am still going to be one. I would say maybe not a commercial one.
Okay.
I fly myself, so I'm still going to pursue that to a point. But do I see another left turn? Yes, right. I left, right. Well, yes, like I always embrace change. So I probably in the future I'll probably start my own company, like solving some of the important problems that we face in Africa, helping other companies become successful. But that would also mean learning new things, right? Or being in another space. I think that like I probably would delve into a lot of like AI space, like probably going to the Nigerian sector to just to help people. But yes, like I can't tell you what I will be in the future. Do I think I am where I think I should be now? Yes. But do I think that like if another change is coming, I would embrace it? Yes, I would.
Awesome. So I was in an event, I think Encounter.
Yes.
So and one of the panelists was talking about AI. This feels like the future is AI, right? Yes. And he said in the next 2050, our jobs we're all out of jobs because we're going to be replaced with human and machines. And he just encouraged, like, oh, why would you say that? We're like, and he mentioned that the thing is we have to continue learning. You have to grow with the trend because that's where the future is. Yeah. And so I'm not surprised that that's going to come in time. All right. So
I mean, most of the jobs that we have now, like didn't exist when we were growing up.
I agree.
I don't think anybody wanted to
social media manager. We just know IT.
Right? Exactly. And even IT then was limited to maybe computer science, or programming and building a website, right? Lots of people wanted to just be doctors, like engineers. So I think the next 20, 30 years will be like very different. Some of the jobs that we have now will become obsolete. If you go to any of these AI websites, you know how like insane that tool is, right? And I think a lot of jobs will be obsolete, including people soon, right? So yes, just being in that space, like evolving, and making yourself useful is like for the future. It is core. And I think what we call it is future proofing yourself.
I agree.
Don't become us.
Future proofing yourself. That's great. All right. So, what is your personal philosophy? Something that guides you through success, your failure. Come to think about it. You haven't told us about any particular failure or quotes that keep you pushing. Would you want to share with us?
Yeah, I've had several failures. Personally, I told you about 3 years in PwC where I won awards. I didn't tell you about the first year where I was.
That's true.
It was terrible for me, right?
Yeah.
Coming from engineering and being thrown into the finance world, like trying to understand what was going on. I didn't understand what prepayment was. I didn't understand the concept of accruals. Didn't understand anything, right? But I think where you become a real failure is when you like fall and don't stand, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it's always pushing myself. I have to master this thing. I just don't have to master it. I have to be the best at it, right? I think that's it for me. So if it means working, I told you about the learning curve, you put in the hours to the point where you've attained mastery. So put in those hours, and then the result is almost always the same, right? If you read the book over and over again, you will know it, right?
Yeah.
If you try something over and over again, you will get to be the best at it, right?
Yes.
There's a rule, I've forgotten what they call it now, where you like invest like a lot of time into something before you attain mastery. But for me, that's it. Like I invest my time into things and get it done. My personal like philosophy is like just put in the time and like put in a lot of hard work and you become the best at it. But aside from that, I'm also a very ethical person, right? So the certain things, and I think that thanks to my upbringing, I have two professors as parents. I also forgot to add that they were both pastors, right?
Oh, wow.
So there are certain things that that just wouldn't sit right with me. So the companies I work, my values have to align with theirs. Right? So workforce was great, PwC was awesome. But then if I get to the point where something is shady, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's it.
Could that be the reason why you left the 1 month?
Yes. And one of the reasons why I got Uber, right? There were a couple of companies that I was talking to at that time. So after I left the 1 month to its role, I spoke to, I think, two companies that were scared that I was not going to stay for long with their company, right? So it was supposed to be a disadvantage leaving that soon. What with Uber, and then when something is meant for you, it just comes, right?
Yeah.
With Uber, it was an advantage because I was told to explain why I left, and I said, "Hey, like the values don't align with mine," and it was seen as a strength, right? So one of the reasons why I joined was because I left because I was in working for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, so what legacy do you have to live through your work, especially concerning technological transformation in Africa? What legacy do you want to leave?
I don't think I've gotten to the point of legacy yet. I'm still a small boy.
You have already.
Yes. I know that we have, so for me, it's low cost, right? Making Uber available to everyone and ensuring that people pay the right amount or the fair amount to get from one point to the other, right? Okay. And that's why we're always looking at like other offerings, right? So we have UberX today, probably have like a more premium option in the future where people that are not price sensitive can get better cars. Yeah. But then for the average Nigerian, I know how tough Nigeria is today. Yeah. Fuel prices are doubled, right? FX is crazy, if I'm to use that word. So lots of people are struggling. So for me, it's how to better the life of the average Nigerian, make it easier for them to move from one point to the other. And that's why, like I said earlier, we have like Uber Package, we have Uber Go available in the market. If I'm to leave a legacy, that would be it. Like cheaper products that is available for everybody. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so if you could impact one piece of advice to young individuals aspiring to make a difference in their life, in their career, what would that advice be?
So I'll make it two.
That's fine.
And I'll just summarize something I've been saying earlier. Number one is don't beat yourself up. You can only connect the dots looking backwards, right? At certain points, it just doesn't look like you have a plan, right? And at some point in my life, it was like that. I was trying my hands on every and anything, right? You're talking about Excel classes today. I'm there. I'm teaching it. You're asking for the best. I'm a designer, a very good designer. I use PowerPoint. I use Photoshop. So even in my role today, if I have a shitty design, sorry, I'm using the wrong words. If I have a bad design,
You jump on it.
I would just jump on it. I did that yesterday. Just like, this is terrible. I would do stop. How do you know how to do these things? So it's like,
I learned
it's
it
just
someday.
I don't even know when I learned it, right? So try your answer like on like everything, and build with, right? It's important that you know something about everything, right? And this brings me to my next point, which is about loving something, right? You can only excel at something you love, right? After you've built with, something will naturally come to you that you love doing. It's like it's just your second nature, right? At some point, I thought that was designed for me because I was really good. Like when I was in workforce, like, people would bring their work to me to get done. Like worked on their e-learning platforms. Like even in 6 months I was there. But then data just called at me. Like just looking at data, getting insights from it, and helping people make decisions from it was something that I felt like interested in me more. And then I built depth with it. So now, like, it's helped me in most of my goals. The first one is you can connect the dots looking backwards, do everything. It doesn't have to make sense now. Do it. It would connect one day, right? But then once it then starts to connect, make sure you always prioritize what you love to do, right? That way you keep doing that, and then the sky will be your limit.
That's amazing. Yeah. So don't beat yourself.
Don't
do anything. Just keep trying it. It might all connect the dots at the end of the day. That's great. Thank you so much. And finally, this is our era of a lot of people jackbarring, staying. What would you say? Like, it was a decision you wanted to leave and you had to join Uber team, right? Question is, did you regret that move at any point? Or like, what was it? Because it's like a major change and stuff. But if you have opportunity, that's the first question. The second one is, if you have opportunity to change anything in your life, what would that be?
Yeah, so regarding Japa, who knows if I'm going to leave tomorrow. So like I said, I never say no to anything, right? I think that people should give themselves the best chance of success in the world. And also be able to move globally, right? Nigeria is great. It's a great country, but there's certain limitations that we have now that just what's the word now? Being in Nigeria or being a Nigerian, like certain opportunities don't come to you because of the bad PR that we have out there. So if you have an opportunity to leave, right, and you have like a concrete plan on how to make things work for yourself, by all means go, right? There's global access there, and you give yourself better opportunities. But then Nigeria is also a great country, like I said. The opportunities you have here in Nigeria, you wouldn't find anywhere in the world. So I'll tell people, if you want to be rich, stay back in Nigeria, right? But then also staying back in Nigeria means you have like a plan, right? There's several problems that are there to be solved. You have transportation problem, you have health problem, you have education problem. Solving problems is what brings wealth. So it depends on what you want for your life. Do I regret not leaving? No, I don't. Do I still have the opportunity to leave? Yes, I do. We have a lot more opportunities now than I did previously, and I have my PR card, so I can decide to leave at any point. So I do not regret that. Would I advise anybody to stay or leave? No, I can't do that. Like, your own personal experiences would guide what decision you make. The second question is very great.
What would you change?
What would I change
if you have an opportunity all through your life? Okay, let's say, what will you change? What will you tell your 18 years self?
I was telling myself to study Yoruba. So that I have 4 years experience before I graduate, right? Because of what I am doing now, I think that like my 4 years could have been used for. I spent 5 years in school, by the way, as engineering.
Futa,
yeah.
Trying to everything now. So the 5 years thing.
But so I'll probably say study, and sorry to all the people that study. I'm not saying it's an easy course, but I'm saying study something that you don't have to, that you don't have to push yourself too hard on it, right? Graduating well in engineering meant that you have to exert yourself, right? Burn a lot of midnight candles just to ensure that you come out with flying colors. But then if you don't use that after, it's like, why did I do that? So if I had to make that decision, do an easier course, go straight into business while in school, or get a job as an intern somewhere and then start building my capacity from there.
But would you say what you studied in school, your school years actually shaped what you're doing now? Would you say school is overrated?
Just, to be honest, I won't say that, right? Do I think that what I studied shaped what I'm doing now? I don't think so, right? Maths, I'm like very quick with numbers, so I'm great with that. Maybe engineering helped a bit with that. I wouldn't be able to say for sure. But in another life, I probably would have done an easier course.
Okay.
And then did from there.
All right. Thank you so much. This has been an interesting conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we do appreciate you. Yes, thank you, my viewers, for staying with us today. This has been an interesting conversation. Don't beat yourself. Like Tope has mentioned, don't be too hard on yourself. Know what you want to do, learn, master it. And if you have to move to the next one, move to the next one. Thanks once again for joining today, and see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
See you.